Aztlán. According to legend, this was the home and the creation of a people called the Mexica, otherwise known as the Aztecs in our history books. This legendary home has been mentioned in several ethno-historical sources that were taken from ancient Aztec priests. It depicts lists of different tribal groups that lived with the Aztecs, as well as a very significant migration from Aztlán to central Mexico. If this place existed, this might suggest that the Aztecs were part of a very ancient civilization, thousands of years before they came into power in Mexico. The trail of breadcrumbs begins at, arguably, the time of Atlantis. Could a cataclysm 11,000 years ago have spurred a migration of mass proportions that separated these tribes into different areas? The legend of the Aztecs suggests that their people began their journey from a red canyon with 4 rivers. Dr. Cecilio Orozco of California State University, Fresno, set out to confirm the actual location of Aztlán. On March 24, 1990, Dr. Orozco published an astonishing conclusion. By cross-referencing the description of the land where the Mexica came from, Orozco was able to pinpoint the location of their homeland, Utah. More specifically, the Four Corners region, where the borders of Utah, Arizona, Colorado, and New Mexico all converge.
He came across a glyph that was a dead-on perfect representation of an Aztec glyph that he knew of that contained a mathematical code, and that mathematical code alludes to the Venusian cycle, the cycle of Venus. Because of that, he decided that the Four Corners area must be their place of origin. The Nahua people, which is where the Aztecs came from, also claim that they came from a place of the Four Great Waters. Well, in the Four Corner region, you have the Four Great Waters. You have the Green River coming out of Wyoming, the Colorado River coming out of Colorado, the San Juan River. With the 3 main rivers and then mixing together, that's the Four Great Waters that they were discussing.
If there are several tribes reported to be from this ancient area, does this also mean they originated from the same knowledge? There was another interesting clue that Dr. Orozco and his team found. They suggested that these symbols represented the Venusian cycle and are also connected to one of the Aztec gods, Quetzalcoatl. Is Quetzalcoatl the missing link in the mystery of Aztlán? And could his symbol be universal in the lineage of all the different civilizations of ancient America and possibly ancient Sumer? Author Anton Parks believes Quetzalcoatl could have an ancient link to the Sumerian god Enki. Based on his research, he discovered that Enki left Sumer and resided in Egypt. When he came to Egypt, he became Osiris. According to the Egyptian Book of the Dead, Osiris was then killed by Set and resurrected by his wife Isis as the son Horus. Horus then revenges his father's death. Among the Aztecs, whose beliefs are the best documented in many historical sources, Quetzalcoatl was related to gods of the wind, of the planet Venus, of the dawn, and of crafts and knowledge. The earliest iconographic depiction of the deity is believed to be found on Stela 19 at the Olmec site of La Venta, depicting a serpent rising up behind a person probably engaged in a shamanic ritual. This depiction is believed to have been made around 900 BC. The idea of Quetzalcoatl as a serpent being seems to be apparent in such groups as the Incas and the Mayans. Is this more proof that they all were influenced by the same god? How then did the Aztecs twist the teachings and the wisdom? Graham Hancock suggests that according to the legend, another prominent god then steps in to drive out Quetzalcoatl and assume leadership of the Aztecs.
And this is indeed apparently what they saw on this journey. You know, they saw this cactus, they saw the bird, and in its talons was this snake, and this is where they stopped. And it was in a middle of a lake, an island in the middle of a lake, and this is where they built this great city, which became the center of the Aztec Empire.
built on the fertile island of Lago de Texcoco, the great city became known as Tenochtitlan. Today, this is the site of the bustling metropolis, Mexico City. If the imagery of an eagle eating a serpent feels familiar, the symbol is used today on Mexico's flag. But could it have a much more ancient meaning? Some scholars, like Jack Carey, believe this symbol is rooted in an ancient conflict between otherworldly forces. They believed Huitzilopochtli was in a constant struggle with the darkness and required nourishment in the form of sacrifices to ensure the sun would survive the cycle of 52 years, which was the basis of many Mesoamerican myths.
When Cortez comes on those beaches and has a beard and is white-skinned and hair, so the people who have been worshiping and waiting for Quetzalcoatl, they transfer their energies to Cortez, and Cortez from Europe and is not a god.
Led by his faith, the Aztec Emperor Montezuma initially greets Cortez and his conquistadors with open arms. What was really at play here? Was it the belief in certain gods as more powerful than themselves? Or could the demise of the Aztec people by Cortez in 1519 have been a battle for humanity based on warring extraterrestrial forces still at play in our world thousands of years later? Could the killing off of a great civilization be the last remnants of ancient knowledge practiced on the planet? The evidence of ancient powers still at work can be reflected by an internal search that the Spanish priesthood performed. They were very concerned with how this civilization fit into their understanding of God and creation, and they sent missionaries to Mexico to dissect it. Could their creation stories be linked? These concerns may have arisen from research documents like the Auburn Codex, which was compiled by a Dominican friar named Diego Duran in the late 1500s. The Codex is presented to the Church, but predictably, they wanted nothing to do with it. What would happen to the belief systems of the world if we realized we came from the same creation? And even more disturbing, what if these belief systems were being used by warring races for their own agenda?
One of the most shocking discussions I ever had in my professional career was in New York City in 1984. And I got a phone call at my office one day from a man. We had a discussion about the ancient civilizations on Earth, including the Garden of Eden, that had nothing to do with Homo sapiens sapiens. It all had to do with extraterrestrials, and extraterrestrials that were in war. And I was shocked at the level and depth at which this man told me details tying our ancient civilization to extraterrestrials who warred with each other, and that we ourselves may be concerned about the return of any of them.
If this is true, is there more evidence of a secret agenda in the research these priests did? More intriguing parallels can be found in a Spanish research document written by Friar Bernardino Sahagún during the 1500s. Known as the Florentine Codex, it also details the history and culture of the Aztecs. Based on decades of research compiled by Sahagún, the document reached some startling conclusions. So startling, in fact, that the Florentine Codex was never published. Could the ancient knowledge from Quetzalcoatl have been given to the Aztecs? If so, did the Aztecs pervert this knowledge? And could another influence have stepped in, disguised as the war god Huitzilopochtli? If this is true, is this more proof that the demise of the Aztecs might have been played out by a supernatural and otherworldly force left behind by these gods?
We have to ask ourselves, is it possible that these two beings who allegedly came from the stars are actually two otherworldly beings in conflict? Is it possible that we're looking at two creatures who are not friendly towards each other? Is it possible that we're actually looking at two different deities or two different otherworldly beings? In my opinion, and if we take a look at ancient texts, mythology, and everything the ancient Aztecs and Mayans left behind, the answer is a yes.
A possible takeaway from the destruction of these people and their culture could be that there are greater forces on Earth battling behind the scenes, manipulating our societies and turning them against each other. Could the need for Quetzalcoatl and his ancient lineage have become extinct at some point? And could the fear of the unknown have invited another type of otherworldly force on this planet? If we are always waiting for a new force to guide us, like the arrival of Cortez seen as a god, are we missing the human potential to create a new world by the understanding that we are all connected to the same creation? If we return to ancient lineages like the legend of Aztlán, do we find more answers? Experts like Freddie Silva point to a connection to a star system that has infiltrated almost all ancient civilizations.
In terms of the connection to Sirius, is the fact that Sirius was also regarded as a source of wisdom, of high wisdom. Whether it was brought here through shamanic means or by actual physical beings that came here from Sirius, that's another matter. I think both lines of inquiry are actually true.